Conferencia y ceremonia de entrega de reconocimiento maestro Ifigenia Martínez a Alain Parguez, un economista destacado a lo largo de toda su historia como docente y como investigador en diferentes materias y diferentes especialidades de la economía. Le agradecemos al señor director, doctor Minh, la oportunidad de estar aquí en este auditorio para dar curso a esta ceremonia y a esta conferencia también. Me voy a permitir presentar una semblanza breve del doctor Alain Parguez, quien ha estado presente en la formación de economistas financieros de la UNAM desde los años 90 y ha participado activamente con los profesores e investigadores en la discusión de las principales líneas de investigación, pero también y especialmente con los estudiantes de posgrado en Economía Financiera. Ha sido un pilar en el desarrollo del conocimiento en este campo de la economía, en México y especialmente en la UNAM, y tenemos en su haber 12 artículos publicados en español desde entonces, y sin duda se trata de uno de los economistas extranjeros que ha dejado una huella firme e imperecedera en estos más de 20 años en su relación con la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México. Ello solo puede ser así debido a la actitud y certeza de su pensamiento económico y de la rigurosidad de su método y también del enorme respeto que profiere a todos los colegas en México. La pertinencia de sus ideas para países como los nuestros y para nuestra realidad de inestabilidad y crisis recurrentes procede precisamente de sus muy tempranos estudios acerca del dinero, su acercamiento keynesiano, pero radicalmente original. A lo largo de su vida ha realizado diferentes ensayos, de los cuales también ha tenido la colaboración de importantes investigadoras y investigadores de la Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México y de esta facultad y del Instituto de Investigaciones Económicas también de la Universidad. Quiero ahora darle la palabra a la maestra Ifigenia Martínez, en cuyo nombre se da este reconocimiento al doctor Alain Parguez, para que nos dirija unas palabras.
Me da muchísimo es para mí un verdadero placer estar aquí, no solo en mi antigua facultad, sino también en este salón tan agradable, tan bonito que está, muy superior a lo que nosotros teníamos en nuestra facultad. Y además, pues estar aquí también al lado del señor director de la facultad, de otros maestros, de nuestro visitante, el doctor Alain Parguez. Y que ya ven que pues, nosotros siempre estamos luchando porque el ingreso del Producto Interno Bruto de México aumente y debido a que pues, las actividades económicas se lleven a cabo de una manera racional, desde luego pues, cuidando nuestros recursos naturales, no echándolos a perder. Y yo creo que desde que yo me inicié aquí en la Facultad de Economía, no fue aquí, a mí me tocó todavía la República de Cuba, que era la vieja Escuela Nacional de Economía. Imagínense ustedes, yo ingresé a la Escuela Nacional de Economía en 42, de 42 a 46, estuvimos allí en la escuela. Recuerdo que el director era el maestro Frasim García González, a quien estoy segura que todos ustedes conocen, aún los más jóvenes, no por estar leyendo sus obras y sus libros. Después de allí, pues nos fuimos becados, yo no, pero mi marido fue becado a la Universidad de Harvard y desde luego pues yo aproveché también y entré también un año después que él, pero entré a la Universidad de Harvard. Recuerdo que allí estudié con algunos de los profesores en aquel entonces más destacados, como el profesor Basilio Gutiérrez, que es un profesor que después se volvió de izquierda, y yo por eso guardo un recuerdo todavía más grande de él, el profesor de teoría económica, También me tocó tomar clases con el profesor Schumpeter y con el profesor Haberler. En fin, teníamos un profesorado de primera, y saqué toda la maestría. Automáticamente se le dan a uno cuando uno pasa los exámenes generales para el doctorado. Entonces, automáticamente le hacen la maestría y queda pendiente la tesis para el doctorado, pero no, yo cuando saqué la maestría dije hasta aquí llegué. Es más que suficiente. Y mi esposo, que era el doctor Navarrete, él sí sufrió bastante, pero sí sacó su doctorado con una tesis sobre la inestabilidad cambiaria, el equilibrio de la balanza de pago y el desarrollo económico, donde él sostenía la tesis de que el desarrollo económico del país y el rápido crecimiento del ingreso y la demanda de bienes que nosotros no fabricábamos, sino muchos de los cuales teníamos que importar, sobre todo bienes de capital, iba a ocasionar una presión sobre la balanza de pagos, un desequilibrio y por lo tanto devaluación. Esa fue la historia de México durante unos 30 o 40 años en que estuvimos sujetos a devaluaciones sucesivas, al mismo tiempo que pues, el país aumentaba su dotación de capital, que aumentaba el ingreso y desde luego, un hecho muy notable es el aumento de población. Imagínense ustedes, cuando yo entré a estudiar a la Escuela de Economía, éramos 20 millones, estaba muy de moda un anuncio por radio, el radio hacía pocos años que se ha vuelto comercial, y recuerdo que 20 millones de mexicanos no podían estar equivocados, es lo que repetían a cada rato. Y imagínense ahora los que son los mexicanos. En el transcurso de una vida, digamos, no me les voy a quitar los años, ¿no? Pero vamos a decir, en 70 años, la población, ¿cómo ha aumentado? De 20 millones, ahora que somos 104, 103. Así que, imagínense ustedes el gusto que me da estar aquí en este local tan bonito. Nosotros también tocó estudiar en la República de Cuba. Después ya cuando fui directora ya me tocó estar aquí. Y aquí pasamos lo del 68, que nos marcó a todos, la rebelión que hubo y la rebeldía de la población liderados por los estudiantes. Y claro, nuestra rebeldía o la rebeldía de los estudiantes era porque querían una mejoría en la distribución del ingreso, que también creó una rama del conocimiento en la cual yo hice estudios y un libro que publiqué sobre la distribución del ingreso en México, y allá por los años de 1960, en donde pues sí se veía que efectivamente habíamos aumentado el ingreso, había aumentado la capitalización del país, habíamos aumentado los volúmenes de exportaciones e importaciones, pero la distribución del ingreso no era equitativa. Unos se aprovecharon mejor, se quedaron con una gran parte, y los otros todavía había pobreza. Yo creo que esa cifra, pues no se ha acabado la pobreza en México, pero yo creo que ahora, como aumentó tanto la población, pues ahora yo creo que las clases medias sí son mucho más importantes. De manera que eso ha hecho que tengamos ya un gran mercado. Y que por lo tanto, la visión o la perspectiva que tienen que ahorita estudien economía, yo lo digo por los que tienen la oportunidad de ya estar en nuestra universidad, que además, desde que se cambió para acá, pues ha sido, la evolución que ha tenido ha sido muy notable, y es una universidad que pasa por entre las mejores del mundo, y nuestra Facultad de Economía, ya dando grados de doctorado y todo, pues también, de manera es que a mí me da muchísimo gusto estar aquí y estar con ustedes y ser testigo de que hemos mejorado, por lo menos aquí en nuestra universidad, hemos mejorado bastante, también en nuestra facultad, también en la economía, pues ahora sostenemos o se sostienen más de 100 millones de habitantes. Así que ustedes vean que ya México es un país de peso en América Latina, de peso en el mundo. También nuestra participación en la política internacional también ha sido muy destacada. De manera es que pues todo esto hace que los estudiantes que están ahorita no se queden atrás, sino estudien mucho, estén muy, pues digamos, interiorizados de lo que pasa en el país, en nuestro país y en el resto del mundo. Pues ahora que es un mundo, después de las 2 guerras mundiales que hubo, se ha vuelto un mundo más interconectado y nos da mucho gusto estar aquí, y sobre todo a veces tener la presencia de un gran economista a quien vamos a escuchar. Muchas gracias.
Le pediría al doctor Alain Parguez, por favor, si nos puede dar su conferencia. Gracias.
I am sorry to speak in English, but I am that delighted to speak between Minh, who was a close friend of my mother, and such a distinguished audience. Especially, initially, I wrote 50 pages, but this morning I decided that it could be much shorter, some kind of an improvisation, I would say. I am very moved because I am coming from a country which is a collapsing totalitarian country. The Eurozone, and especially France, is becoming a third world country, while Mexico is obviously not a developing country, but a developed country. So, I explained my title, why did I become an economist? Because my mother was deeply involved into politics. She had been one of the founding fathers, I would have said authors, of the French Communist Party. She was a close friend of Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, and their likes. My father, why the contrary, very right-winger, but he hated the bourgeoisie, and he always told me, Alain, I prefer in my house that people speak of sex than of money. So, my boyish lectures, when I was around 13, were first Marx, next Keynes, and after I discovered, when I was already very young, that something was missing in Marx, especially in Marx à la française, never remember, never forget that now the closest advisor of our president, François Hollande, the most fanatical promoter of austerity, the chief advisor of the Rothschild, was a very long time ago a communist party, a communist economist, Michel Adrietta. What the French retained of Marx was a caricature. Galensky was ignored, Steindl ignored, Rosa Luxembourg ignored. After I read very young the general theory, and I said there is something which is either obscure or missing in the general theory, which is the role of money. So something must be done. What was for me economics, and what was economics for my mother, who, while coming, we are not responsible from our family, like my father came from the French ruling class, but I completely broke up in a link with my family. She was a friend of Minh. I discovered that what was missing was, first, what was economics. Since my early years, if I dare say, economics was not some kind of caricature of physics or just childish economic mathematical models. The so-called orthodox mathematician, economic, now ruling the economics departments, are just failed mathematicians. I recommend the wonderful book of my old friend, Robert Skidelsky, The Return of the Master, excepting here, of course, most of the Department of Economics should be closed. So, why economics? Economics is dealing with humankind. And it should promote the way out of serfdom, which means how to free people from the yoke to constraints, rationing, how to enjoy the best way of life. And it means not being addicted to conspicuous consumption, but to indeed enjoying progress, enlightenment, culture, research, equality. Everything is possible, even protecting environment. It is impossible to protect to the needs of humankind without a lot of public investment. Those who in Europe are promoting zero growth, minus growth, are just disguised or not disguised fascist or Nazi. Like many people I know in France, but none of them. But while pursuing my effort to get some synthesis of Marx, Keynes, Kalecki, and the post-Keynesian literature, not including Higgs, I met once. He was for 18 character. I thought me, but I must turn to what is official economics. So I wrote a PhD thesis. I published, I wrote and sustained in 1933, published later in 1975, in which I displayed the full proof that neoclassical economics, whatever the vintage, neoclassical, neo-Keynesian, new-Keynesian, and the like, not only was unable to deal with the real world because it has no role for money, and thereby it was dealing with some kind of agrarian economy, unable to analyze modern economy. Whatever the models you deal with, from Van Rage to Friedman and their heirs, money has no place. Money is purely exogenous. It comes from God or the gods. And when they deal with money, their model becomes entirely destroyed out of logical inconsistencies. And it is again the same. The so-called dominant economics on one side is surprised by the so-called financial crisis, which is not at all a financial crisis. But on the other side, how could they explain the crisis since they don't accept the very endogeneity of money. Since my early years, I had discussion with central bankers, politicians. They could not accept the very existence of credit, creation of money out of debt. And sometimes they are honest. Robert Barrow, I met once while he was working with the CIA, told me, yes, we are working, you are right, with an Alice in Wonderworld system. But why? Because we are there to create young people which will be the future slaves of Wall Street. So, in my works, which are full of mathematical models, I think I completely destroyed the logical consistency of orthodox economics, and for the first time I integrated the notion of money creation and monetary circuit and endogeneity of money. And it was one of the starting point of my life. What means endogeneity of money is that it is the criteria distinguishing totalitarian agrarian economies which survived in the ancient regime and modern economies. But now I say it is time to do more and to go back to Marx, Keynes, and Galensky. By the way, I met Galensky once, Marx not, of course. One of the boyfriends of my brother was the grandson of Marx. But I've been asked to go to the US after a paper I wrote in 1964 on the Kennedy plan of inflation. But I couldn't, for many reasons, especially because I received a special invitation from the head of the CIA to go to Washington. At that time, I was still a Trotskyist, member of the left, the more left-wing Trotskyist group, a socialist and barbaric who vanished. And after I was confessed, when I was in Sciences Po, when I was 20, I was distributing the Little Red Book. But after I had two projects, I had many lives, class. The first, and academic one, I had been asked by the then leading French economist François Pérou, who also had penalized, but let us be silent on this question, to create in what was the major research institute in Paris, the ISBEA, was the university system were completely stupid. To create a review, the title was Money and Production, in which I tried to associate young post-Keynesians from everywhere in the world, even Italian Marxists, and I started to develop what became, sorry if I polite, sorry, and I started to develop the general theory of the monetary circuit, integrating what was missing in Keynes, a theory of profits distribution, relying on Galetsky discovery that there are two profits variable, the aggregate amount of profits and the required share of profits. At that time, people in France were completely baffled. They ignored those problems. I also tried to develop a full theory of money creation and how capitalism couldn't exist without credit granted by banks, and that investments, capital accumulation, couldn't be realized out of already existing profits, but out of money creation. So I rejected completely the Marxian theory of plus value. On this point, I recognize that in his last writings understood the problem. But when Marx started to write, he was obliged to rely on the existing analytical structure of the Ricardian one. The same for Keynes. You could be a prophet, but a prophet cannot or should, but he sometimes didn't have the time or the will to invent a new analytical project. So I was immediately under attack from the French Marxists, because as the French Marxists were die-hard Stalinists. On the other side, have been conducted by Jacques Attali, the very one created François Mitterrand and who organized the victory of Mitterrand in 1981, which was not easy, taking care of the past, which is very dark, of François Mitterrand. He had been a leader of the Nazi Party before the war and medicines. The problems that Attali knew nothing in economics, so he asked me to work with him. I tried, and when Mitterrand needed the support of the Communist Party, 20% of the electorate at that time, and now 1%. Mitterrand asked Attali, I have the support of the French multinationals, a large part of the Reich, the Catholic Church, the former network of collaborators, but I need some votes from the mass. So Attali asked me to write a full model using my own theory to write what should be the model restoring growth in France. Austerity had been invented both in word and policy by the last Prime Minister of Giscard d'Estaing, Raymond Barre, a fanatical right-winger, so France was already in a total disaster. So I wrote this model. Georges Marchais, the Secretary General, was apparently very happy, and Mitterrand was elected. But 2 days after the election, there was a secret meeting. I was there with Attali, Michel Rocard, the young François Hollande, all the representatives of American banks in Paris, the Saudi Central Bank, and most of the wealthiest capitalists in France. But they told Attali, we never gave so many millions to Mitterrand to apply Alain Parguez policy. We don't want that. Attali said, I could give you the oath of the newly elected president as soon as I could. I will get rid of the cautious, stimulating policy. I will destroy the people, the unions on a scale which never has been implemented. It's exactly what they did when in 1933 the finance minister Jacques Delors, a creature of the Vatican, and the Opus Dei, and of a large part of the French capitalist class, for the first time decided full employment will never be an objective of the French policy. We will never go back to full employment wages had to pay. So I left, and actually offered me a lot of money, even a job that I was completely disgusted. And it is why, when I had the same experience later with the Jospin team, I refused everything but the Socialist Party. My mother had told me that same story. Who was Leo Blum, a creature of the British and American banks, and the Front Populaire would never have existed without the general strike. So I decided, friends, politics is over, let us go back to theory, and let us go back to the future and other countries. And I started a lot of publications, some of one of them published Songs to You, to develop my theory, what should be done to get rid of constraints, poverty, and to restore true full employment. Meanwhile, I have been sacked from the editorship of my review on order of the finance minister, which is usually a difference. So it was a time when I decided, I regret that it was a loss of time to write in French, and I started to write in English. The last book I published in French in 2006, Full Employment or Chaos, in which I proved that the true data were abominations, effective rate of unemployment beyond 50%, effective rate of unemployment of inflation 7 or 9%. I received surprisingly a very correct review from right-wing journal. The socialists were outraged of being some kind of a teenager with a teenager mentality under 20. So I entered in what is now maybe my new life, truly developing a general theory, integrating money, of course, money creation, displaying the proof that no capitalist economy could survive without a leading role and anchor role of the state. That there could be no sustained true growth, I emphasize true growth, because the very concept of GDP is a lie. Like all data provided in Europe. But I also integrated something which lacked in both post-Keynesian theory and which had only been cautiously addressed like Alensky, how could the state sustain the growth and freedom and equality in society? Indeed, out of a long-run commitment to promote true full employment and welfare. But it requires the absolute freedom of the state to spend. And indeed, in all modern economies, when they are not backwards, like in Europe, the state is not financing its expenditures out of taxes. It is as though firms were financing the expenditures out of receipts, which doesn't exist. The state is financing its expenditures out of money creation, directly or indirectly through the central bank. It could be an horror, some kind of sexual horror for the majority of economies. But it was openly recognized by all civil servants. So it means that the state must have an absolute sovereignty on its currency and an absolute control of the central bank. It is why, since the start, I was a dedicated opponent of the Euro and European Monetary Union, and I am more and more an opponent of that absurd system. I wrote a story in development on the origin of the European Monetary Union. It started in the early 30s on the rightist part of the French establishment. But since the state is the leading factor of society, it must be free to run what is today deemed required deficits, which means that a large share, if not the largest share, of state expenditures are investment. Where the state hire and pay a professor, when the state is given grant to students, when the state is promoting research, hiring engineers, those are investment expenditures and not consumption. So, in a society which is truly targeting the best future, which is obviously unknown, the state must never be limited into good deficits. Spending for education is investment. and to compute rate of profits of state expenditures is absurd. Thereby, you could tell me, but how the state is financing deficits? I wrote extensively on this question, especially in a paper published in 2002, if I remember, by the International Economic Journal. Deficits are not to be financed. It's absurd. The state has not to issue bonds to finance expenditures already realized. So, why? A question is, why is the state alone, as long as it is not a parastate, like in Europe, completely enslaved to a ruling techno-elite? Why is the state issuing bonds? To provide income and sound assets to banks, debt savers, and financial institutions. The issue of bonds is some kind of social security for the banking system. It means that I display the proof that the state, the treasury, should be master of the amount of bonds issued and of the rate of interest. In a state which is truly committed to the people, financial markets should play no role in state fiscal policy. But you could tell me why, what about, and if it is the new phase of my life, what about the so-called crisis? Why is the crisis of the 21st century worse than the crisis of the late 20s and early 30s? Is it connected to an orgy of speculation by banks? No. Is it connected to an abuse of sovereign debt? And this is a problem, you see. Sovereign debt. The term never existed before the last 5 or 6 years. Never. People spoke of public debt, now sovereign debt in Europe, which are issued by states having lost any sovereignty. What a joke. What is happening is that, and it is a project on which I am working, so I should lead another life. We are now in the midst of a structural system is dying for complex reasons, maybe because, to speak on Schumpeterian terms, it destroys the state and the protective structure, or because we have no more entrepreneurs. Where are the entrepreneurs today? I don't know. We have managers, ignorant young managers, who are formed in the business school. And the business school, on this point, I agree with Gorbachev. Gorbachev said once, it is not the KGB, nor the proletariat who destroy or will destroy capitalism. It is the business schools. It is as though the business school culture had been invented by the most rabid anti-capitalist structure. And indeed, I made once a lecture in the MIT, my dear French, the meaning of ignorance. So, I still have hope because of three factors. First, the dominant theory is dead. It is not mathematics who can save it. There is no more any theory behind hidden mathematical models. Second, especially Europe is really a dying system with rates of true unemployment of more than 50 or 60. I wonder in France or in Italy when we will arrive to a zero employment society. Such a system is obviously unsustainable. So it is saved now by ignorance of the people, despair of the people, speculation. What saves the euro is first the Obama and next the Bush administration. For reasons because they want to save the balance sheet of their banks. But soon the system will survive. They invented in Italy a new fascist party. The party of Mr. Grillo, who is a racist and ignorant fascist, who received enormous amount of money from Brussels, Frankfurt, and possibly from the US. But it is enough. So I hope that we are going to a better and bright future. It is why maybe I am still alive. Thank you very much.
Ahora le daremos la palabra al doctor Minh, para que nos dé un reconocimiento a nombre de la Facultad de Economía y del Centro de Investigación y Estudios en Economía Financiera.
Muchas gracias. Es una gran satisfacción poder entregar el día de hoy este premio que fue instituido hace un año, que otorga el Centro de Investigaciones, Estudios Financieros de la Facultad de Economía, y que lleva el nombre además de nuestra muy querida maestra y directora Ifigenia Martínez Hernández. Nos acompaña.
To you, a fascinating question. It is a question which is indeed worrying. First, I don't think that there ever was a pure market economy without leading role of the state. As for public economy doesn't mean a totalitarian economy. It means an economy for the public at large, where all kinds of small entrepreneurship initiative could be possible, and where everybody could be free from despair and rationing. But the problem is that market economy has been spoiled by people like the worst guy who ever existed, Friedrich Augustus Baron von Hayek. Hayek was the inspirer of Milton Friedman, Alan Greenspan, and the Eurozone. For Hayek, what means market economy? An economy where an absolute power is given to a tiny group of super technocrats enjoying absolute power to destroy all obstacles to market law, social security, free education, everything you want. It's interesting that Hayek had never the least critique of dictators because they imposed the market laws. So, and Hayek himself had been inspired by one of the most weird mind, the Russian-born woman Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand philosophical books believed that absolute power should be given to God-inspired capitalists. And Ayn Rand became the mistress of Alan Greenspan. So I am not against market economy, but market economy for the people.
reconocido en nuestro medio por las muchas contribuciones que ha hecho al estudio de los fenómenos monetarios y el estado actual, tanto de la ciencia económica como de las políticas económicas que se están instrumentando, como lo ha demostrado ampliamente en la conferencia que acaba de dictar, con especial referencia a la experiencia reciente de Francia y de la Unión Europea, pero con conceptos que sin duda alguna nos hacen reflexionar sobre el estado actual de nuestra disciplina y del capitalismo. Por lo tanto, es para la Facultad de Economía una gran satisfacción el día de hoy poderle otorgar el reconocimiento Ifigenia Martínez al doctor Alain Parguez.